You started using methamphetamine when you were 15 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Who gave it to you?
My father.
Your father?
I got high with my dad for the first time. I hadn't seen him probably about 7 years. First thing he did was pulled out a joint and asked me if I wanted to get high. And that was pretty much my relationship with my real father.
Who gave you alcohol when you were 9?
My father.
I was 12 years old. He took me out on the truck. Every time I'd get kicked out of school, that was my punishment. And he's like, do you want to do a bump? I'm like, well, what's a bump? And that was the first time I had ever done any drug in my life. He put a needle in my arm.
Today, we are looking at one of the most startling contributions to substance abuse that I've ever seen. And that contribution is fatherhood. I'm Judge Gunn. For the last 15 years, I've been specializing in cases involving drug abuse.
All rise. 4th Division Circuit Court is now in session. Honorable Judge Gunn presiding.
All right, drug court is now in session. Every day, I hear stories of anguish, hopelessness, and despair as one rehabilitation program after another fails to give these addicts the skills they need to stay off drugs forever. Do you have a clue what that does to your unborn child? Finally, we did something about it. We started drug courts, an innovative and tough court-ordered rehabilitation system. The rules are strict. It's an intensive outpatient program, and it is to teach the participants to change their life. If you qualify and complete the program, upon graduation, you don't go to jail. Most of these people would be in the penitentiary or would be in a regional correctional facility, but for drug court. It's tough, but it's fair. And for many repeat offenders, it's their last shot. Their life is completely changed. And if it's not, we will change it for them. When I see children stand before me and tell me that they put a needle in their arm when they were 13 years old with their father, that becomes their father's legacy. That's what that child pays for from that day forward. You started using methamphetamine when you were 15 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
How'd you use it?
Smoked it.
Who gave it to you?
My father.
Your father?
At the age of 17, I started to use methamphetamine.
How'd you use it?
It started out as snorting and smoking it, and then
what?
And then turned into IV use.
Your father caught you?
Yes, ma'am, with coke.
And what happened out of that?
I basically offered it to my dad, and my dad started doing drugs with me at that time. I had a mirror full of coke on my lap, and he came into my room, and the only thing that I could say is, you want some? That's when me and my dad started doing drugs together.
When I was about 17, I got high with my dad for the first time. I hadn't seen him probably about 7 years. First thing he did was pulled out a joint and asked me if I wanted to get high. And I was like, well, let's go pick up one of my buddies and we'll match you on one, you know what I mean? And that was pretty much my relationship with my real father. And
Jody, why did you do drugs?
My dad. Living with him, I was with my mom. They were divorced for several years. And then he got out and did good for a while and then started back just like every other addict does. And I just kind of followed in his footsteps.
We had to clean the house, and it was a white glove thing, and if we didn't, you know, he would smack us around, kick us, whatever. I mean, he would beat us with the belt so bad that before he even hit us with it, we had done peed our pants because we were so terrified of him. And he would, you know, take the skin off our back of our legs. It was very rough.
He handcuffed me to a chair and beat me with cast iron skillets and stuff like that. So really, I really didn't have no good times when I was growing up.
My meth habit started, I was 12 years old. He took me out on the truck. Every time I'd get kicked out of school, that was my punishment. My mom would make me go out on the truck with him. And he's like, do you want to do a bump? I'm like, well, what's a bump? And that was first time I had ever done any drug in my life. He put a needle in my arm. I was 13. Ongoing ever since.
The days are long and the years are short. The boy's a man in the wink of an eye. It's a run for the money, put on the show. Hearts are lost that money can't buy. A hand not held will soon It's a tale too often told. You long for the man you never had. It's the story of the prodigal dad.
Kids like Davy are searching for a father they can trust, someone to lead them, hold them, teach them, not someone to do drugs with. Fathers sometimes realize too late that their child needed a dad, not a buddy.
I'm sorry for the way I raised you.
My dad was an alcoholic. Unfortunately, at the age of 9, he became sexually abusive to me. It was horrible.
Whether you like it or not, if you're a father, your child is going to do what you do. They love you, they learn from you, and they're going to follow you into the bowels of hell. Now it says here, Jody, that you have used with your parents or your step-parents.
Yes, my father.
Where's your dad now?
Federal prison.
For how long?
10 more years. He's been locked up about 8. He got 20.
Do you remember what the charges were?
Conspiracy to manufacture and distribute 500 grams or more of methamphetamines.
How many times have you been to prison yourself?
I've been to federal prison when I was 21 or 22.
What'd you go to federal prison for?
Conspiracy to manufacture and distribute 500 grams or more of methamphetamines.
My dad was an alcoholic. Unfortunately, at the age of 9, he became sexually abusive to me, and it just changed. I mean, my mom pretty much blames me still to this day, and I felt like, even though they were there, I felt like I lost both of my parents. It was horrible.
How old were you? You said when you started using IV.
I was I 20, 22?
How old were you the first time you used meth with your dad, period?
That was my first time. That was my first time meeting him.
It was your first time meeting him?
Yes.
How'd you meet him?
Through my grandmother. I met him for the first time, and the only thing I learned from him was how to cook dope. But I haven't seen him since. To me, that was kind of crappy, you know?
What are you mad about?
There for a while is, my father. I didn't meet my father for the first time till I was last year. My biological father.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that has some issues there.
I actually got the nerve to go see him for the first time. I didn't react like I thought I would. I didn't cry. I didn't get mad and try to hit him or nothing. It was just like we're just two people getting to know each other.
The single most devastating consequence of drug use is not being able to ask forgiveness. Justin was one of the lucky ones. He was able to reconcile with his dad. Frank was not. It was too late.
My mom called me at work one day. She said that your dad's not moving. He's on the couch and he's not moving. And within 2 to 3 hours, my dad was dead. In my head, I had killed my dad. I drank and drugged so hard for about 8 or 9 months that I drank and drugged that memory away.
I keep running from the past, but I'm not sure to where. Every road I'm on looks the same. That voice that rings in my head saying I was never enough. I've tried to shut it out, but he keeps calling my name. So I wrestle these demons. Oh, mama, did I ever please him? Gonna leave this road at dawn. Gonna forgive him now. Time for moving on.
Okay, Donnie, when was the last time that you talked to your dad?
It was approximately 3 weeks ago.
Did the conversation go well?
Not really.
Problem is, Donnie, you have a long history of using a lot of drugs and alcohol. So do you understand why your dad might be skeptical?
I'm a self-report here. I came here to get help because my kids got taken. I got 5 kids that look up to me, or need somebody to look up to. I never had a father, so.
So you need to get clean, you need to remain clean and sober, you need to change your life because you're putting your kids first.
Right.
Let's look at the losses that every participant has when they come into drug court. What have they lost? They've lost their freedom for a while. They've lost their job. They've lost any sort of income. But most importantly, everybody loses their kids. And if you're a male and you have kids, you lose the ability to be a father. What was the worst thing that ever happened to you on drugs?
I lost my son. I haven't seen him in about 8 years now.
How old is he now?
He'll be 11 this year. I'd have to say the saddest point in my life is when I was told I couldn't see my son no more. What I should have done is got a lawyer, and instead I got drugs.
When I got busted January 6th, 2009, and my daughter's birthday is January 7th. It took me almost 2 weeks to call her, you know. And she kept asking why I was in jail and couldn't talk around it, and I told her I was in there for drugs. And when she started crying, that broke my heart.
What about your son?
I haven't seen him since he was 6.
How old is he?
He just turned 13.
One of the last times I picked him up, I was really high on the meth, and he looked at me like with that look like he knew something was wrong. And one time he just told his mom he didn't want to go with me. And that just really hurt bad. And then after that, I just kind of quit seeing him.
Okay, Donnie, when was the last time that you talked to your dad?
It was approximately 3 weeks ago.
Did the conversation go well?
Not really.
What happened?
He told me I need to get court approved, talk to my kids on the phone.
Problem is, Donnie, you have a long history of using a lot of drugs and alcohol, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So, do you understand why your dad might be skeptical?
I understand completely, to be honest with you. I'm not mad at him for anything he's done. I give him all due respects. He's taking care of my kids. He don't have to. He stood up and took responsibility whenever my mom passed away, and I started using even worse. Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at all at him. I was like, I know one day that I'll be able to go up and see him whenever I want, and see my kids whenever I want. I just know I just got to prove it to him and prove it to myself first.
Okay, and how do you prove it to him?
By staying clean and sober and doing something with my life.
Now, it's my understanding that you took it upon yourself because you were in the area to go to Donnie's dad's house.
Ma'am, I made him write a note, and I told him that I wasn't going to use the post office and I was just going to deliver it myself.
And Donnie, what happened?
I got a letter from my dad yesterday.
You did?
Yes, ma'am. And he said he's proud of me for getting baptized. And he's proud of me for getting clean and sober. And if I want, when I get out, I can come see him.
But I want to talk about the letter you sent to your father. You want me to read it or you want to read it?
You can read it.
I'll try. Dear Daddy, I first want to say that even though I never got a chance to really get to know you, I love you. I miss you every day of my life, and at times more than others. When I was younger, I didn't understand why you had to die. and why I was left here without you. I used to sit and wonder if I would see you in heaven and if you can still see me. I'm sure there have been times you were very disappointed in me, and for that I'm sorry. I'm in a rehab center right now because I chose meth as my source of comfort, medicine, my cure-all. I hope I make you proud. I love you, Daddy, and I hope to see you as soon as I get to heaven. Always forever, your daughter. Kanawha, get your life back. Okay.
My oldest boy asked his mama, "Who is that?" And she told him, "That's your daddy, you know." And he started crying, and he came up and gave me a big old hug, and he asked him where I've been, told me that he missed me and loved me. And that was the best feeling of my life.
When every man that has children comes into drug court, they're an addict. When they graduate from the program, we will not graduate anybody that doesn't walk out of this program a father.
My oldest boy, whenever my ex brought my kids over to my grandma's house, he kept on staring at me and asked his mama, "Who is that?" And she told him, "That's your daddy, you know." And he started crying, and he came up and gave me a big old hug, and he asked him where I've been, told me that he missed me and loved me. And that was the best feeling of my life.
How far are you behind in child support, Chad?
A lot.
We talked about this before.
Yes, ma'am.
It's in the thousands of dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you secured employment within a week of coming into this program.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about your child support, and as of today's date, which is about 5 weeks out, it still hasn't been, you still haven't paid any?
No, I haven't yet.
Chad, you should have been paying your child support before 5 weeks, you know that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's not gonna be another week go by
Yes, ma'am.
that you're not gonna do that.
Yes,
Because you're gonna
ma'am.
start bringing me receipts
Okay.
starting this week. Yes, Officer McHenry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that he's got proof for your request 2 weeks ago that to provide proof to the courts of his payment to the child support.
Let me see that.
It's being garnished out of his wages, Your Honor.
Yeah, I know, and I'm glad. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
He's doing well.
That's great. Well, you know what, Chad? How does it feel to pay child support for your kids?
Feels great.
It ought to feel great that you're paying for your kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Eric, they tell me that every picture they see of this baby is you holding your baby.
Always.
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 Now that you know what it's like to be completely drug-free, what do you have to say to people?
I love the program. This program totally changed my life. 3 or 4 years ago, you know, I would have been running the streets still using wouldn't have gave a crap.
I know.
And I would have just been chasing my drugs.
At the end of the day, if you bring a child into the world and you're a father, that child wants to grow up to be just like you. So the responsibility for every male with children coming into drug court, they must address what they're teaching their children.
Daddy, please hurry home. You may not believe how much I have grown. I know that you got a lot to do, but I've been waiting for you all afternoon. gonna be a big boy soon.